I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, you're one of my favorite. You're one of my favorite. I think one of my biggest success stories in a lot of ways in
Really?
2020. Remember, you and I did not, and this is good for anyone listening here. You and I had a little bit of a rocky start. Remember the first 2 days you
Yeah.
were having a hard time getting going, and I said I don't know what to tell you. It's fucking hard work, and I know you're having a hard time getting started, but you can't keep doing this over and over. You just got to do it, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
had, and just like you were saying at the very beginning of the call, you had some other things that needed to kind of be worked through a little bit. And granted,
Yeah.
that's not my. People don't come to me, for example, for substance abuse, whether it's alcohol or anything, but they find very often, like I tell people very clearly when you start me, like I don't promise you, I'm not a quote unquote, thank God, I'm not a licensed therapist or licensed, practicing doctor, but I have doctors who do my program, and there's a reason for that. And I have therapists and counselors do my program, and there's a reason for that too. But I have to be, from a legal perspective, I can't promise people, hey, you're going to stop drinking when you do my program. I just say, hey, see how you start to feel and see if it doesn't have a very clear impact on other things. So what was awesome was, and again, I never promised you this one, but here you are, a couple weeks into it. Once you got started, again, a little bit of a rocky start here, but once you got started, your drinking got thrown to the curb. You started sleeping better. I mean, how fucking awesome is that? And it doesn't mean that things are perfect. Fuck no, things will never be perfect, Jermaine. But holy fuck, in what, a month and a half, you came a long fucking way.
Yeah. And I would consider, because me, and it's really crazy. Like, the person I was with, I don't even care about him anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like, back in the day when this happened, I would spend months mourning the loss of the relationship. Now it's like, whatever. I feel like I'm the prize. And if that person,
and you are.
And if that person can't see that, then that's their loss. And I'm perfectly fine. Like, I don't need anybody to validate me. I validate my own self. So
yeah, when you feel great, you don't need anyone to fucking see anything. When you feel great, you're just like, I feel good. I mean, let that be that. And if you don't see it, who gives a fuck? I feel great. And that's really what it was. And what's really important for, I think, people to hear on this call here, because and this will be a really great opportunity for you too, to really celebrate how far you came.
Oh yeah.
When we started, if I remember correctly, you were seeing somebody on and off for about 5 years. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact. So you were seeing somebody on and off for almost 5 years. You and I, in just a short span of a few weeks, not just ended that fucking cycle, but literally ended that pattern permanently. But for 5 years, you were spinning your wheels. And just 2 weeks, you broke that permanently.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, doesn't mean things are perfect, but to do something you had not done in your entire life, or at least in 5 years in this case, in just a few weeks, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
And
if you would have told me back then that I would be feeling this way now, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have been like, yeah, right. But yeah, here I am. And I feel awesome. I feel awesome.
That's fantastic. So to kind of backtrack a little bit here, originally, what just for people listening here, in your words, and what made you decide to do this here? You had some challenges in the background. You had this relationship that was kind of, this guy was completely incommittal. Also, he had his own stuff going on, but you were just in this emotional purgatory with this guy for like 5 years. But what was like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back and said, you know what, I just need to fix this?
When the week that we stopped talking, I was in a very depressive state. And in order for me to stay sane, I was drinking. Sorry.
No, it's okay. The reason why it's okay, Jameen, is because what you're feeling now is recognition. Your life, you'll never go back into that ever again. You have every reason to know that that's the end. And that's actually what you should be able to feel is gratitude, to know your life will never be the same again. I tell people all the time, my 20s were a fucking disaster. But Jameen, I want you to listen to it very carefully. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm really glad they were disaster. I would never hit that, that button to change it, because the sweet is not sweet, not the sour. the fact you recognize things are pretty fucking tough for a long time, and to live how you get to live right now, how fucking awesome is that? That's it. I mean, that's a real cause for celebration.
Yeah.
So that's totally okay. That the recognition of how things used to be versus knowing how they are now, that's what allows you to be grateful.
Yeah, it's just sometimes I look back like I can't believe I made it that far. Like, but yeah, I was terrible anxiety, couldn't sleep, and then I was like, I was just on Facebook one day and I saw your ad. I'm like, this sounds interesting. Let me look further into it.
I like the way you put that.
When I first talked to you, I thought you were a bit crazy. I was like, oh my
That's okay.
God.
That's okay. A lot of people do till they realize that I'm not.
But I'm like, I don't know. It was just something about you. Your energy was very intriguing to me. I'm like, you know what? Let me invest in myself and let's get my mind right. Because right back at the time, my mind, it was just messed up. I'm like, okay, you know what? I've been asking God, the universe, for a sign to get my mind right. Therapy is not working for me. It has never worked for me. So let me invest some more money into somebody who I felt that with you, I would be able to get to that point, and I'm getting there. Like, I still can't believe it. Like, I started off with high blood pressure issues, anxiety out the butt, and now my BP is getting normal. Anxiety is it's better than what it was. I'm able to handle it better now than I did before. So yeah, those are like big victories. My health is improved. Like, yeah.
And never forget, you mean why that is. Remember, it's not about perfection. Remember, every doctor would tell you, I'm not a doctor, but every doctor would tell you, disease is a body not at ease. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So all throughout the day, and remember, just, I'm not going to say the specific things on here because I don't want people to do Band-Aids and stuff, but during the practice that I taught you, there's a very specific tool that you do all throughout the day to keep your body uncoiled and not get coiled up like a spring. So when it's time for bedtime, it's much easier to go to sleep because sleep is an automatic process. All you have to do is set the stage for that to happen. And as long as you keep your body relaxed and peaceful and just uncoiled throughout the day, when it's time to go to sleep, it's much easier to do so because you've already set the stage for do so versus the old you that used to be all tense and anxious throughout the day. You're not living like that anymore. Yeah. And that's why your health changed. And that's why you sleep better. But in a very easy to understand way, we literally helped you in a very practical, tangible way, keep that little coil, that spring uncoiled throughout the day. So that just has overarching impacts from a health perspective on everything. And when you feel great, you do great. When you feel great, you speak great. When you feel great, I'm just good. I mean, what else do you really fucking want? But that's what makes you attractive. I have a question for you. Okay. I would guess, Jameen, that as far as your ability to feel like from a relationship perspective, that the sky's the limit. Like, I think you even told me one the other day, actually. You told me someone kind of came out of left field and kind of asked for your number or whatever. But I bet you're having a lot of experiences like that.
Yes, I have, actually. I was on a date last weekend, actually, with somebody. Yeah, I've been having a lot of suitors have been coming out the woodwork, like, wasn't even expecting or even, like, wanting it. It's just happened. And I think it's because of my energy and what I give off. And I'm always in a good mood. Even if I had a bad day, I'm always happy. And I feel like that's attracting people to me. So
you don't have to think that. That's a fact. When you feel a certain way, think about it from a common sense perspective. Jameen, when you meet somebody who just has great energy, no matter what they look like, no matter how short, tall, whatever, when they have good energy and they're just vibrant and boisterous and outgoing, and you can tell they just want to be expressive. They don't have an agenda, but they just have what you would call good energy. Whether it's someone at work, for example, someone at work that has good energy, right? Those kind of people you want to help. True? You're more likely to go over and say hello. You're more likely to want to help them. True or false?
True. Very true.
That's because they show up at this level. The old you, they're showing up here. It wasn't as likely to get the most from people. But the
Yeah.
more when you intersect with life and you show up good energy, good state, those kind of things, people must respond differently to you, just like you respond differently to people that quote unquote have good energy in your worlds. Again, think from a practical standpoint, with your friends, your family, people at work, people that you would say have good energy, that have that good feeling around them, you're more likely to want to talk to them. You're more likely to want to have lunch with them. You're more likely to want to help them. True or false?
True. Yeah.
You're more likely to want to date them.
Yeah.
If you think about some of the most attractive people in the world are not necessarily conventionally attractive, but people are just drawn to them. And holy fuck, if they're attractive and have that energy, that's just unstoppable. But energy is a very real thing. People have to respond in accordance to the version of you bring to the table. So every day you do this practice, and again, let me say this here because this is important for you here. In the graduate call we did just the other day, I really emphasize the fact that, again, it's not about perfection. You have to learn to embrace the cycles of challenge. Remember, higher highs and higher lows. It's not perfection. From my own standpoint, Jameen, I do the practice. I don't remember. It's been like a fucking decade since I've had what you could call a bad day. I've had challenging days. Fuck yeah. I've had challenging days, very tough ones, but not bad days. But here's the thing. I range between like what I'd call 70% day and 100,000% day, but it ranges. Understand? But I never forget, even on the tough days that are a 70% day, you know what you mean compared to how I used to live many years ago, and you as well. 70% day is still a pretty fucking good day when you remember how it used to be. Never forget that. A hard-fought 70% day will still put a smile on your face. Yeah. And that hard-fought 70% day is what paves the way for that 1,000% day you will experience sooner than you know. Never forget that. And that's the truth. And that graduate call was all about that. So, but every day you do that and you get better and better at feeling good, better and better expressing yourself at different levels, because when you feel great, you speak great. When you feel great, you make different decisions. The better and better you get at feeling good, where higher highs and higher lows, you're going to consistently show up at higher and higher levels. And that's attractive. When you feel radiantly beautiful, you are radiantly beautiful. And again, you don't have to take, anyone listening to this call here. I invite anyone listening to this call, think about anyone in your life, whether it's, and they don't have to be your best friend, but friends, family, people you work with, people you used to date. When these people consistently show up these higher levels of energy, you're drawn to them. That person literally becomes a magnet. But I bet you've noticed, again, I'm not asking you to say anything that's not true, but I bet you've noticed there's a significant feeling of power and confidence in your dating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That little smile you have on there says it all.
Yeah.
And it feels great, right? But here's my next question for you. How does it feel to know that you're good either way? If it works out, great. If not, that's okay too. How does it feel to know that you're not as dependent, or your ability to feel great is much more independent from what happens in the future?
I feel like, hey, I'm going to be okay regardless. If it doesn't work out, cool. If it does, that's great too. My happiness is, I depend on myself for my own happiness. I don't need a person to give me the happiness or make me feel a certain kind of way or validate me. It's all just me. It's all me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it is all you, because as you know, from a practical standpoint, you're that furnace of energy. Every day you're literally reconditioning your brain, so in accordance with the version of you you're creating. No different than working out your muscles. Lifting 100 pounds to 110 to 120 to 130. Every day you do your workout, your potentiality increases. Doesn't mean you're perfect. It just means the potentiality of what you're capable of biologically has increased. Mm-hmm. So every day you do your workout, your capability, no different than your capability for your muscles, the potentiality is increasing more and more and more. And every day you take care of that first, you're showing up at a completely different level. And everyone responds differently at your complete level. That's why your whole life is changing. And again, does not mean you're not having challenges. I got challenged. I've had probably one of my most challenging times, probably in the last month has been one of my most challenging months I've had in a while. But with that said, it hasn't been a bad month. And I know for a fact, because I've done this enough times, like I encourage you, it's just the cycles. This will unveil a higher high, a next level for me, as it's done many, many times. And the thing is, when you have those challenges, Jameen, you put a fucking smile on your face, you dig your heels in, you embrace it, and you fucking do it. And that's it. And at the end of the day, you'll have a smile on your face and say, you know what? That was hard. That's true. That was challenging. That's true. But not so bad. And even a little fun.
Right.
And that's what keeps you doing it. But you've done enough of these cycles now, even on a micro level, to know like, hey, Jameen, if you think about what you accomplished with me, you remember where you started with me, I guess at this point, maybe 8 weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you did that at that point, you have every reason to know you'll never go backwards.
I have no desire to go back.
As long as you keep doing your practice, you'll never go backwards. And never forget here, and it's okay if I have this on the recording here, but remember, if you ever go through an exceptionally challenging time again, I don't give a fuck what that challenge is. Could be a loss of anything or a challenge in anything. It does not matter. You have a skill. Do not go to a fucking therapist or counselor. You got it. You just have to execute. And on those times, remember what I told you in the graduate call. That's the time where you do the practice like military, 30 minutes minimum. 30 minutes minimum. That's not the days you do a 10-minute practice. Okay, that's what you remember long term. As long as you do it that way, awesome. And just know too, I never promise these when people sign up. You see at this point, I follow up with everybody. I like to make sure people are doing really great, because what a fucking shame for someone to go, you and I did the hardest part. What a fucking shame it'd be to forget how powerful you become. So I always make sure to keep up with people, make sure they're still doing their practice. And that's why even after someone graduates like yourself, if you ever have a challenge again and you forget for a few minutes how powerful you are, you got that call me up. I'll make sure you remember very quickly. Nothing's changed, but this is only the beginning. You'll never go back to that. So the emotions you're feeling at the beginning of the call, that's actually a very good thing, because feel grateful. You have every reason to know this random fucking Facebook guy you ran into, he got something real. So your life will never be the same. And the emotional reference point of how things were, that's what allows you to be appreciative. Think about it. If you grew up and didn't have a lot of money, and then you came into millions and gazillions of dollars, you're going to really appreciate that. You probably won't even spend it at that point, because you're like, I'm just so happy that I can have freedom and just enjoy simple things. But if you were born with all that money, you're not going to appreciate it. So what you got is going to be so much more amplified, and you're moving as fast as you are because you know what it was like before.
Yeah.
And that will actually serve you. Just keep doing your 30 minutes. And you're that's it. So
I got my treadmill behind it right here. I'll use this thing faithfully.
What is that?
My treadmill.
Good. There you go. Beautiful. So let me ask you here, just for anyone. So you told people that you thought I was crazy the first time we spoke. That's okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, how do you, if you were to tell somebody about your experience with me, again, because a lot of people, I'm just a random whatever Facebook ad, fucking whatever. How would you? And a lot of people are, quote unquote skeptical. To anybody who has never worked me, how would you describe the experience from beginning to end? And not that it's the end, but you know what I'm saying. For the 6 weeks, how would you describe the experience of somebody who's thinking about doing something like this? They're just like almost like at that point, like, fuck it, I better do something.
And that was really what my mind said at the time. I'm like, you know what, screw this. Let me just go ahead and do this. It was not easy initially to do it. I was a little hesitant, but as I continued doing the practice, it became easier and easier, and I became a stronger person mentally. And at the end of the 6 weeks, it was like, oh my God, that was so easy. Like,
good.
But yeah, I'm glad. Money well spent. Would do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Beautiful. Last question, then, Jameen. I might have asked this kind of in a sort of way, but whatever. This is a nice little close here. How do you feel about your future?
Oh my God, I have so many things lined up for me right now, as far as finances, school. I feel like my future. I have this beautiful. That's one word I can just describe it. Beautiful. My life is gonna be awesome from here on out. Well, it's been awesome, but it's gonna be even more awesome now. So
that's fantastic. And I'll close this then. That's absolutely the truth. I have so many people in this program that in the beginning they're like, oh my God, I'll never meet someone like so and so again. And I'm like, well, listen, let's talk about this in a very logical, easy to understand way. And this is no one, you can't dispute this here. At the end of the day, and this is great for anyone listening here, you know this, Jameen, but other people don't. At the end of the day, the two most valuable resources are very simple to verbalize: emotional states and energy. Emotional states and energy, those are the ultimate skills. Think about it. If you can control your emotions, or at least have better, at the very least have the best ability to bounce back quicker, or that refractory period to getting back to feeling good after a challenge, the more you are in control of that, which is a conditioning, it's not a fucking concept, as you know, but the more you have that as a skill, no different than if I ran a race, if my muscles are conditioned, I can bounce back quicker and run again quicker. Same thing. The more you're conditioned that way, the more you make better decisions. Mm-hmm. The more you're conditioned that way, the less likely you are to say something you shouldn't be saying.
Yeah.
Or do something you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
The more you can control your emotions, the more you enjoy life. Very simple. That's the foundation for everything you're looking for. Everyone's looking for. And that's what you did in this process. This process was a true emotional conditioning mechanism, skill, a tool. And that's we could take a picture of your brain today and compare to how it was, 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, it would look completely different. And what you're experiencing is evidence of that. No, never forget, it's no different than your physical muscles. If I go from lifting 100 to 110 to 120 to 130, I might not be able to see my muscles out of a microscope, but here's the truth. You can't get stronger unless your body has created more muscle fiber tissue. That's a fact. That's not even an opinion. So your strength is evidence of what has happened biologically. The things you're capable of, the way you're able to say, speak, bounce back, that is evidence of what you've done biologically.
Yeah.
Okay? So emotional states, or emotional conditioning, let's keep it scientific here. Emotional conditioning is the most important skill, one of the two most important skills to have. If you can't control your emotions, you're not enjoying yourself. If you can control your emotions, you don't do things you shouldn't be doing. And that's why, from the beginning of our call here, that's why you're not going so, again, it's not about perfection here, but that's why you're less likely to engage in behaviors that do not serve you, such as like alcohol, other substances, for example. I have many, again, I'm not in quote unquote AA coach or counselor. I can't say those kind of things, but Jameen, I'm sure you can appreciate you're not the first person that's quit drinking during this program. Not that that's the program, but many people do this and they just stop doing things that they eat better, they sleep better because they feel better.
Yeah, I've even changed my whole, I've become a freaking vegetarian. I've changed the way I eat. I'm just focused on taking care of me. If I'm not better, I can't help anybody. So my main concern is making sure that I'm good. So,
and I bet you enjoy your meals more, and I bet you eat less. True or false?
Yes, I've lost some weight.
When you feel great, you don't go into those cruxes. You know, people I have that ask me, "Hey, Lance, how are you going to stop my narcissist act?" When you feel great, you don't do stupid shit. Whether it's food, alcohol, drinks, narcissist, whatever you want to call it, when you feel great, you're less likely to you don't have to fill the void because you are your own furnace of energy. So emotional states, that is one of the two most powerful assets in your life. And that's what we did. And here's the cool part. It's only the beginning. Like my analogy, if you went from lifting 100 to 110 to 120 to 130 to 140, wow, that's a 40% jump. But you are so far from what you're capable of. Jameen, I swear to God, if you keep doing what we've done here, in 6 months, you'll blow your own fucking mind compared to where you are even now. The most strongest, most conditioned, resilient version of you to ever live is the person on this call. But with that said, you'll see 6 months from now, you'll blow your own fucking mind. You will not believe where you're at. And again, does not mean you're not going to have challenges. You might actually have some very significant challenges, Jameen. But a significant challenge does not mean you're any less powerful. Does not mean the tool is any less potent. It's just simply a fucking challenge. Never forget that. Make sense?
Yeah.
But emotional states, that is the beginning of that's the conditioning you've been doing, and that's why you're getting better and better at that. And that's why you have every reason to know your life will get more beautiful because you'll feel more and more beautiful. Because you feel more beautiful, you'll make even better and better decisions. You'll communicate at even higher and higher levels simply because you control your emotional states. That makes obvious sense, does it not?
Yeah.
And number two, the second thing this process does is it helps you get better and better at creating your own furnace of energy. Number two, most valuable resource is energy. If you don't have energy, you have no gas in the gas tank, how are you going to make your fucking dreams come true?
Right.
How are you going to become, you work in sales, how are you going to really get the quotas to the next level if you don't have the energy to really see things through?
Yeah.
And in dating, how are you going to make that relationship work if you don't have the energy to deal with the more challenging times? Or have the best energy when you're with your partner? How the fuck is that going to work out?
Right.
It's not. So energy, and that's what you did in a very real, practical way. Emotion creates motion. The better you get at controlling your emotional states, you just have more energy. Motivation is a product of knowing you have the right strategy. All this stuff addresses energy at the core. Energy doesn't come from fucking food. It comes from a fucking mission. It comes from like, I got this today. Wow, I'm excited about life. I can't wait to make things happen. That's where it comes from. And that is what you have. So you have every reason to know as you get better and better at more energy, better and better controlling emotional states, life has to get more beautiful. And by the way, on that note, never forget, remember that one of the most important things in our program here, being grateful for where you're at.
Yep.
Simply being eager for more. That is your gateway to heaven every day. The most powerful, strongest, most resilient, conditioned version of you, Jameen, to ever live is on this call right now. Be grateful for that. You know where you started. You know how things were. How can you not be super grateful for that? Doesn't mean you're even close to your potentiality. Doesn't mean even close to what you could call a plateau. You will never plateau, by the way. Again, a challenge is not a plateau. Don't mistake the difference. But you have every reason to know from a practical, tangible, logical standpoint, your life as far as getting more and more beautiful has to happen. It's not can, it has to. And again, like when I tell people when they do the program in the beginning, they're like, many times they're like heartbroken, like, oh my God, how will I ever meet someone, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, if you attracted this person at this level, when you're in the fucking whatever you were, how can you not get a completely different level at this point?
Yeah.
I have so many people do the program that within a few months, that ex does come back and they no longer want them, just like in your case. And the vast majority, I'd say within 6 months, meet someone at a higher level. I have many people that are getting married, whatever, within a year to someone completely new, better. But it has to happen as you increase your energy and your emotional states. Yeah. It's an inevitability. So yeah, you should feel great about this. But yeah, anytime you remember the past, be grateful because you have every reason to know there's no going backwards. You can't unlearn what you've learned. It's impossible. All you gotta do is keep doing the practice. You did the hardest part, it's uphill from here. Some challenges, that's true, but again, higher highs and higher lows. So awesome.
Right.
All right.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, you're Jimmy. You're super welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, you've been one of my favorites for this year because you had so many other things you wanted to do for yourself too. You know, just even beyond relationships, there was a lot of things you wanted to again change those patterns. But you now know it's not about changing the pattern per se. That's conceptual. It's about changing the way you feel, which is essentially changing the conditioning, which allowed you to break the patterns.
Yeah. Yep.